When did you realize that because I understood like wrestling was a big part of what you did, and I don't know whether this is right, but it said that it was about 2 years old when you got into it.
No. I was about 6 years old when I got into wrestling. So it's been quite a while still, but I started when I was really young, thought it was fun, and over the last 18 years, I've been working hard at it.
Now, it's wrestling. Well, for people some people are listening on audio, and maybe it would be helpful to. So you had something called, was it called Caudal Regression Syndrome?
Yeah, that's what I have. It's called a Caudal Regression Syndrome.
And what does that mean for people who don't know?
It can mean a lot of things. It can mean you have just different deformities or limbs or parts missing, I guess. Like your spine, or for me it was just my legs. But it is what it is.
Yeah, and so wrestling, I suppose, would, and I know I did look at somebody who I believe has been one of your mentors, who is also an amazing athlete. But in general, wrestling isn't something that I suppose you would think of, because you're probably in a slightly different position to most of the people you're going up against. Did that ever cross your mind, or did you just have a passion for wrestling? And
the thing about me, I just didn't care. You know what I mean? I was having a fun time, and as it went on, I was learning more and more. So I just had a good time because I like the sport. You gotta be a special type of person just to wrestle in general. Mm. Wrestling isn't like, oh, I'm going to join wrestling. No, once you start going against somebody that's really good, you can actually get hurt. You know what I mean? I've seen people get dropped on their neck and they don't get up for a second. And the other guy scored points because of it. 5-point move. So it's like wrestling gets real, and you gotta if you're gonna really dive deep into it, you gotta really just immerse yourself into it. So that's what I did.
No, you didn't. You weren't very good when you started, was you?
I was terrible. But after quite a while, after losing over and over again, I slowly was piecing together what I could do. You know what I mean? It was more of a trial and error. And then at one point, I just went every day for months on end, just seeing what works, what doesn't work, Monday through Sunday. Just hitting the mat every day, wrestling with the dummy, wrestling with my friends, wrestling with other people, other coaches. I had the pleasure of having private work with Nate Carr. He wrestled in games back in the 80s. It was kind of lived 3 houses down from me, so it was really, really convenient. But I was definitely blessed to have the people around me to really help me tune in the goal I wanted to get to.
So you chose a pretty tough sport, mm-hmm. Right? For anybody, even sort of like someone who's built like you would imagine a wrestler. It's a tough sport. And you didn't start off very successful, because I'm having these children, this is why I wanted to find out, I'm having these conversations with my children, they're doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So you wasn't very good at it, and yet you decided that you could be good at it. And where most people after a while, it's like, look, I'm getting beaten up, this hurts, how much am I going to do? Maybe I should get into drumming, which you also do, from what I understand. What was in your mind to say, well, sorry, I am actually going to be really good at this?
It wasn't that I was deciding I'm going to be good. I was just I don't want to lose anymore. That's honestly what was going through my head. I was kind of getting tired of losing. Once you've lost almost 200 times, I was over 200 times.
You lost over 200 times?
Yeah, I think. I lost for 10 years straight.
10 years?
I didn't start winning until I was 18. And then I kind of started beating everybody.
Did anyone sort of say to you, look, maybe this isn't your sport?
No. I mean, if you did, I didn't hear you. And I know there are people that were. I would hear about it. It's just it was one of those things where if somebody says that you can't do something, you got to just ignore it. Let it pass through one ear, out the other. And that's what I did.
I'm trying to find the statement, but there was a kind of state. Yeah, you said something along the lines of about following the process, and I was sort of trust the process. And I was curious. So were you in your wrestling? Did you was that first 10 years like part of the process that you had pictured? And it's like, okay, you know, there's going to come this point where some of these things are going to come together. Like it sounds like you're explaining it to me like that, or was it just a really good coach that was like, yeah, you know, you're a step closer to where you need to be, and that was what, you know, assisted, your success?
It was definitely it was a collective group effort, and my coaches, my teammates, the friends I made throughout the wrestling world, they definitely played a part into me developing as a wrestler, developing the skill to have what I need to be good at wrestling. Mm. You know, a lot of my friends growing up, they were all like those guys that were ranked top in the state, top in the country, and I was the worst person worst person on the team. You know what I mean? So they would like take the time to go wrestle with me. We'd have fun, you know. We'd shit talk each other, just seeing who could get after it. And as we got older, I started to catch up, and then that's when things got really fun. And once we were finally like on par with each other, we would just get down and we would battle it out, and that collectively got all of us better at the same time.
Right. Do you remember your first win?
Yeah. My first win, I pinned this dude in like 17 seconds. I almost broke the school record. It was ridiculous.
How did that feel?
That felt good, and then I lost the rest of the tournament. Yeah, I like won one win and then kept losing, and that was my junior year. One win at 17. And I won one match, kept myself alive, and then I lost. Simple as that. Then the next year come around, I won the same tournament. I win that tournament. Win the same tournament. Then I won all the other tournaments. Took second at a big tournament in Ohio. Took third at a really big tournament in Ohio. It was just really like the things I was like the matches and the places I would find myself at on the mat once I started to really excel in the sport. Like you step out on the mat, there's probably somebody that's ranked top in the country right in front of you. You wouldn't even know it. And the thing about me, I was so oblivious to who I had to wrestle. I had beat some of these top guys, and I didn't know until after the match. I remember at this one tournament, it was the guy. He was a returning state champion, and my shoulder had just got dislocated, got popped back in. And like I was sure, like I ended up like having to have surgery because I tore my shoulder. But like at the moment, like you know, there's all this adrenaline. My coach picks me up and like smacks me a little bit, like tells me like just like you go out there, you win, because he had just taken me down in overtime after my defense kind of shut down when my shoulder went out, and he scored a point, took it in overtime. So then we go to the center of the mat. And I'm kind of just like limping back to the mat, you know. It was real, like I was in serious pain, my man. But I'm sitting right there in front of him, and then the ref blows a whistle, and he tries to hit this move called the flying squirrels, where you kind of jump and you twist your body and you catch an underhook into a half Nelson, and then it kind of forces their body to turn. So we try to do that, and he almost got it, but I ended up catching his leg. And then once I caught him, I was able to get full control, and I won in overtime. But like then I find out it's like big ranked top dude, and I was like, cool. And I sat down and requested ice for my shoulder. You know, I just didn't care. You know, like it was like I remember the match, but I don't care about the stats. You know, like you know what I mean? Like I remember like the experience will ever beat whatever ranking somebody has.
Did you or your opponents ever know that you were going to fight each other before some of these competitions?
Yeah, we all have to weigh in. Everybody at the same weight class has to weigh in at the same time, so nobody can cheat.
Right.
It's like that for every fighting sport. Everybody has to weigh in at the same time.
And how did you like when you started to get better? Like how attitude between you and your opponents? You know.
Oh, they're trying to kick my head in, dude. Like, after a while, it was like, okay, I have to go against this dude. If I don't actually be careful, he's gonna mess me up. So then that made the match even more, like, it made it more urgent to see who was gonna score first. Because this guy, like when I was wrestling at Kent State, I remember I was wrestling against, what was that school? I was wrestling against some D2 school, Lackawanna. I remember I was wrestling I jumped up a weight class, so I was wrestling their 133 pounder. And this guy was this cocky dude. And he straight up was like coming at me crazy. I took him down first, and then he took me down, and I took him down again. And then he's thinking the time's about to go. He's thinking I'm gonna just walk out of bounds with him. No, I go and damn near blow his knees out, you know. And he got upset about it. So then the next round, the third round, he goes up to me. He goes snap my head down really hard. So I get out the way. So then I snap his head down as hard as I can. You know, like that's the type of intensity. Like when you get to a high level of wrestling or just MMA in general, that's what it's like. Everything's a strong blow. People think like, oh, it's wrestling. It's not gonna, like, can't be that hard. No. You ever thrown a grown man? No. You ever picked a whole other man up and drop him on their head? It's hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, if you train for it, you can do it.
All right.
But it takes a certain type of training that not everybody can handle.
Yeah. I heard that the rules were exactly the same. There was one slight modification, I believe, at was it Coach Donahue? Donahue is his name?
Yeah, they changed one rule my senior year. I went neutral all rounds. But then after that, once I went back to college, it was normal. So like it was, I don't know. I think that was kind of pointless. If I'm gonna have my honest opinion, I thought it was extremely pointless.